Anybody opposed? It's carried. Adoption of the minutes. Mover, seconder.
I'll move.
Okay, Marilyn. Seconder. How about Rihanna?
I see Dan's hand up.
Oh,
I'm
Dan.
right. Yeah, I'll second it. Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Okay, we'll let Rihanna do it. Dan, you can do another one. Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. And I'll call the question. Any changes to the minutes?
Sorry.
No?
Go ahead.
Okay, carried. Does anybody have any monetary interest? You making any money off this gig? No? Okay, let's go. Okay, the first one, I would like to thank Julie Friesen for joining us today. She's going to talk about the home share program. And this is the, Julie, you're part of, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and everything about where you're from. But I think this is the second home share program in the Halton region. First one is Burlington. So we kind of know what the home share program is. So we don't need a lot. You can mention it in passing. But what is the time commitment? What is the staffing commitment that's needed to develop a home share program, and how welcomed, how much is it appreciated when you put one of these programs into existence? So Julie, off to you.
All right, thanks so much. Hey, I do have a PowerPoint that we used for another that that might be helpful. And is that possible or not? I don't usually do a PowerPoint, but sometimes it's helpful.
It's up to you. What would you like to do? If you can share the PowerPoint and you feel that would be the most beneficial.
Sure, yeah, I'll talk through it to you because sometimes our process is a little bit different. And so that will impact the sort of amount of time that you need to do what we're doing. So I would just need to be.
You're part of Halton, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll
Maybe
I will just share my screen.
All right.
Can you see the home share process?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. All right. So let me just go
Hi,
to the first here.
they're in a presentation
So
from home share, so I just thought I would call.
we are from Community Justice Initiatives. So we're actually in Waterloo region. And we are a very new home share. So, and I could tell you a little bit about who we are too, which kind of impacts a little bit about how we do home share. So I'm not going to go into what home share is, because I think you guys got that. And there are some slides about that, but we will, I'll just gloss over those. So yeah, so our organization is founded on principles of restorative justice. So all of our programs have this idea of restorative justice, which is all about relationships. So all of our programs look for this idea of connection, conversation, and community building. And when there's harm within relationship, then we view harm as an opportunity to build a stronger, resilient community who's able to relate to each other with empathy and compassion, and who are able to dialogue together to address needs and harms. So a lot of what we do is kind of justice related work, as well as sort of community mediation service and other things like that. So we are attached to home share because of our skills in facilitating conversations with folks. So, you know, we acknowledge that our restorative justice program is rooted within Indigenous practices, and we deeply appreciate the cultural and spiritual contributions of Indigenous people. So, you know what home share is. So we're Waterloo Region Home Share, and so what is home share? You guys know what that is. I'm not going to go into that. You know what a home provider, home seeker, and a home share are. Here's where we start getting a little bit different in what we're doing. So we've gotten a bit of funding from a number of different areas in our community. So when we think of home share, we also are sort of more broadly thinking about that in terms of, so our program is doing that. Not just the typical home share where you have somebody who owns their own home, has lots of space in that home, and there's someone who's looking to have a home and help out with chores or whatever that might be, whatever that arrangement is. We're also looking for it in that somebody could be it could be a rental, and they have space within their rental. And so we would help assist that relationship building and that safety process. It also might be two people who are actually looking for housing at the same time. And they each have their own income, but it's not enough to afford the increasing rental costs in our community. So what we would do is we would, again, sort of our process would start where we would have people help them have conversations about what does it look like to actually live together in that particular space. And it even could be families that are saying, hey, we lived in different residences, we're now coming back to live together in this one home. How can we do that in a way that's going to work for us? So, and this is where I think would be the slide that's most helpful and what I heard you folks asking for. So this is our particular process of home share. And what I'll do is I'll tell you a little bit about how many hours each step in this takes. And then I'll also tell you how much what our budget is annually that we're trying to make sure that we are able to fundraise for. So our process at Community Justice Initiatives is we have an application process. There's an interview where we just meet people individually and just interview them just to make sure that they understand what home share is about and that this might actually be helpful for them to be a part of home share. If it gets to a point of this, we actually do a home visit. If people are willing to share their home, we go and we meet them there and we have our interview there so that we can sort of see the home itself, make sure that it's actually decent housing, or if there's any issues that we know that we might have to talk about as we go along through the process. And the program referrals. So we actually might also refer folks to other services in our community or other programs that our organization already provides, just because there might be other support that needs to happen for this home share to be as successful as it possibly can. Then we have an introductory meeting where we bring together the folks who are hoping to live together in some way. So that is just a time where we help them build a connection. We help them think about, could we imagine ourselves living together? Is there compatibility here? And what would that match maybe look like? So that's step one, and step two is about 8 hours of staff time. Next in the step is that if these folks are sort of looking and there's an introductory meeting, and we also might have some of these things happen before, where we have people do references, police checks. If they're interested in looking at what does insurance say about this, what sort of legal advice do we need to look at? Is this something that we should be concerned about? Do we want to do this? Just to make sure people have all the information that they want. This is something that the home seekers and home providers can do on their own. But if they do need assistance, we have built that into our services that we could provide. We could help them, just sort of help them go through these steps of getting references, please check, we won't tell them about their insurance issues, but we might connect them to somebody who does some insurance stuff around this. So if folks need help with this, this is about an hour and a half of our time. Then our next step is we help people create an agreement. We call it a memorandum of understanding of how they may live together. So we have different areas which we encourage people to talk about. For example, pets or noise or what sort of chores there might be, that kind of thing. So we have lots of different areas where the folks themselves will have conversation together about what they would hope for. And then we help them write down this agreement. We ask if there's any other areas in which they would like to talk about. And then we create this little living arrangement understanding that they both have agreed to, and they've created together. So we use volunteers for this process. So this is about 10 hours of time for 2 volunteers. So we're a community mediation service. So we already have folks trained to do this type of facilitation and mediation work. And staff time, it's about an hour to sort of oversee this process. And then in our process, we have ongoing support built in. And again, not every home share has this, but this is part of our process where we have home share coaches that are volunteers in our community who we have trained to do this. And so they're matched with a home share and they connect with them once a week for an hour. So initially, this is something that they do, and then maybe they don't have, if things are going well, they may not, it kind of is as needed then, but initially they're going to check in on this home share once a week for an hour. And then we have a formal follow-up 1 month after that takes about 2 hours.
In the council.
So one of the reasons why we have this ongoing support is to address issues before they become quite challenging. So trying to anticipate the sort of needs or things that might be potentially going wrong, or so that's just a real check-in to again say, hey, is there anything we need to have further discussions about? And if so, then our volunteers will get back with them and they'll have another mediation where they'll talk about this stuff. Yep, so that is it. If I can figure out how I stop sharing. There we go. So I've created I'm a director of programs here at CJI, so I'm not frontline person at all. So I oversee different programs and I'm also oversee sort of getting funding for this. I'm looking for about $40,000 to run this program for a year. And that's the staff time to make sure that we have everything in place. And then of course we have the volunteers as well. So there's a lot of training that our staff do with volunteers and support of the volunteers to make sure that they feel supported in the work that they're doing with our home share. Having said all this, we are very much in our infancy. So we have actually not seen a whole process through at this particular point. And so, we are not your most, like we've not been doing this for years or anything like this. We just have put these things in place. We have some funding for it and we're starting up matching. COVID has really slowed us down, just to let you know about that. And it's usually around the home providers who've been a little bit nervous during COVID to open their homes to this process.
Oh, how much does your program align with the Burlington program? Do you know? Because City of Burlington has had a home share program for a long time.
Yeah, my understanding, so I don't know that for sure. My understanding is that we put a lot of more sort of support around that with volunteers. So that's one thing that's different. And I know that some of the home shares, I don't know if it's Burlington or not, but I know some of the home shares say, hey, if you'd want a mediation, you guys can agree to go pay a private mediator for that, just because there's not community mediation services like ours in every community.
And one other question on how many people have you signed up and what's the response been? And what have been the kinds of home shares that you've set up?
Yeah, so we have a lot of home seekers. I don't even know what our database is as we speak, but it's quite large. And we've only done one home share match so far. So we just started basically this last fiscal year.
Okay. So to start, you need some kind of funding to get this off the ground.
Yeah.
And that's
just because there is some safety oversight that I mean, again, you can run it with volunteers, but you're going to have to make sure that you really have a dedicated volunteer who is, going to be that stable person to do the work. Just because you don't want lots of different people doing the work and then things fall through the cracks. And really the challenge is making sure that you're not putting people in risky housing situations, right? So there is some due diligence on the introductory part, as well as, we've had a number of different folks meet each other. And we've really taken time to make sure that they agree. And so, for example, I know one particular, there was someone was a smoker. And so the other person was just like, they thought they could live with it, but then, they couldn't, that kind of thing. So you want to make sure that you kind of slow people down a bit and that you're not responding to just kind of emergency housing. We've had lots of people want some emergency housing with this, which is not really what this process is made for. It is for folks who are able to take a little bit of time and have that ability to say, okay, this process takes a little bit of time. And it's doing that kind of on purpose to make sure that we are making sure there's safety, that folks really have thought this through, and that there's some compatibility.
Okay, can I open it up to everybody?
Yeah, I think I saw Rhiannon.
Brianna, sorry.
Thank you, Julie. Initially then, so did you go to your local public health for the funding? Because I do think that this is like a social work, nurse-driven type. And sorry about my background noise. I have 6 plumbers in right now that I had to come home for. That's okay. We're gonna get past it. But so if we hear it, I'm not in an earthquake. Yeah.
Yes. So
you have to go to public health, or
so we have
it's
not
like a regional program type.
Right. Yeah. So this is a regional program. We have not come at this as a nursing perspective because this is, so we talk about, we're not home we don't provide housing, right? We provide safety in connecting people and matching people. So, the first time I heard about home share was one of our sibling organizations in Vermont, who was a community mediation service like ours. And they talked to me about this because I was like, home share, that's really strange. I'd never thought about that for a mediation service. And what they said was, what they really discovered, and they had been doing it for years, was that the reasons why home shares are successful or not is because of conflict. It's because of that ability not to either understand what you're agreeing to and making sure that you know what the other person, what the expectations of that agreement are. And then of course, it's when, you go through a honeymoon phase of enjoying each other and you have a good housing. And then you're like, oh, I don't like that about that person, that kind of thing. That's when the conflict creeps back in. And so we've really approached this from a relationship kind of perspective is how we view it. And so we got funding from different foundations to do the work. So we have a KW Community Foundation. We got money from a co-op bank, Kindred Credit Union. And we approached our region in their housing strategy. So we approached them and said, we see this as one option for our affordable housing strategy as a region. So we're not going to be that emergency housing. We're not going to be new builds, which is really what we're doing here in Waterloo region. But we are a very affordable way to use existing housing that already is here. With very little money, we can potentially match people. And hopefully we get to a point where places like Vermont, which are able to match, have 100 matches in a year. And so again, we're not anywhere near that, but that's what could happen after the time when we can market this program and get people, because it's a weird thing to think about, to share your home with someone you don't know. So we have a sort of almost a marketing strategy ahead of us, which is, how do we talk to people about considering this option? And it's not that there's a ton of home seekers who are very appropriate actually as well. And that's that we've been connecting with our local refugee and immigration partnerships who have folks who are new to our region, who are really looking for safe, decent housing. And these are folks that we're hoping to house as part of home share.
Okay. Well,
As a follow-up, I just want to ask one other question then. So follow-up, so there is not an age limit or capacity to this. Like, you obviously have to follow up with the needs. So the application process goes, but could they be 16 to 85 type thing, or just because it is quite unique? It will open up for so many potentials.
Yeah, so initially when we started this in our pilot phase, we were like, okay, we're going to start with older adults, especially around the home providers. That's maybe who our sort of target population is around some of those. And then we thought, and then COVID struck, so that kind of put us behind the 8 ball a bit. And then we started getting contacts from others in our community, like the refugee and immigration organizations that we have. We've also thinking about when we have this process that helps people think about living together, you can think about all those different ways in which you can apply this, right? In a sort of a co-housing way, right? Which is different than home share. But we thought, okay, we already have this process. We already have the mediators. Why wouldn't we, think about this in different? So this is intergenerational now around how we're going to be marketing it. Even though a lot of our home seekers are still older adults who are single older adults, and they've been priced out of housing.
I'm going to start across the top. Rihanna, any more?
No, thank you.
Okay. Dan?
Hi, Julie.
Hey, Dan.
I like it. I like it a lot. I'm someone who doesn't like to waste, and I like to see, excess space being used so effectively. And you don't have to worry about the very troublesome task of building new space. That being said, there was one concern that came to mind when you, and oh, by the way, it also makes a lot of sense that's being done with an organization that has mediation capacity, because that really seems to be what it comes down to. That being said, just I was wondering what the reaction was from your insurance underwriter to taking on this new program.
So, yeah, we didn't get a big reaction to it. A lot of what we do is quite risky, Dan, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, all right.
So we're comfortable with risk. We get people together, folks who are formerly incarcerated with community members who form a circle of friendship together. We do lots of risky things. The risk that we want to make sure people understand is that your landlord-tenant rules don't apply in these particular situations. And so the protections that we would have in those particular areas, could be challenging. And so that's why we are so supportive around this. And, we have talked with the police about this as well. We have already some programming in sort of collaboration with our local police force, who also said, are you going to be putting us in situations where we have to kick people out of housing and things like that? So we haven't had to face those yet. So there's some challenges with this. And luckily there are other places that have also done this work that we can look to, the Vermonts of this world, the Haltons, and that's why it is so important that we built in this process where we're trying to regularly have connections with people so we can anticipate these difficult situations. And we're also building relationship with these folks so that we have relationship to lean on if things are going wrong. Having said that, there's risk in this, Dan.
Well, there's very little that any of us do that's risk-free, completely, of course. And if you take the approach that you are to really work on laying out or determining the expectations and then laying them out in advance, that's
so one thing that people would talk about in their home share mediation would be what happens when this doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And that would probably also, when we were aware this may not be working anymore, we would have sort of a termination mediation. I think we'll name it something better than that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, any good agreement has an out clause built in, right?
Yeah.
And Joey, anything?
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Joey.
I'm glad to have a look at your presentation. I've always been for this home sharing. I'm just curious, how easy was it for you to get volunteers, as you said, that were committed?
Yeah, so we do have a staff overseeing this at this particular moment. And like I said, I was able to get a little bit of money here and there to do that. The volunteers who are our mediators and the home share match, it's been very easy to get volunteers who are committed to that. Now, they're not taking responsibility for the program itself, which is a different, I think, level of commitment of a volunteer. But people hear about the home share process, and like you and like me, when I first heard about this, it was like, wow, this makes sense. This is cooperative living. This is what community was meant to be. This
Right.
idea of building relationship with each other and supporting each other in really practical ways. So the volunteers have been easy to get.
Excellent. Thank you.
Leslie, anything?
No, I just think it's a great idea. Years ago, friends of ours sat around playing cards saying, someday we'll buy a house and then we'll all live together when we get old. Being a former nurse, having worked in the nursing care, this is a much better option for a lot of people if it takes off. But I can see the problems. You're always going to have two people that get along together for 6 months and then that's it. I mean, it's just going to happen. But
yeah, and so, you know, obviously there are lots of folks in our community who we push to the margins, is how I like to talk about it, right? So folks who are struggling with homelessness and addictions and things like that. Those are not the first people. Like, we were obviously requested. People were like, wow, you know, we know lots of folks who are just so in need of housing. They're on the street right now and that kind of thing. And, you know, just to let you know, we just said, hey, that's not where we're going to go with this home share at this particular time. I mean, who knows where this could go once we get more experience around this. But, you know, we really need to make sure that we're getting our experience in situations of folks who have some stability in their lives, whatever that might look like for them. And, you know, really helping them have conversations about how that living arrangement could be. So, yeah, like I said, we are still, you know, working to do this. And it's been like, we've had lots of volunteers. We've had lots of interest from home seekers. It's the home providers that's been the challenge. So I assume that's mostly the challenge that home share programs have. And our last challenge is encouraging our region to see this as one of its affordable housing strategies. So to me, that's where I see the sustainability of this program being, is that for $40,000, you can potentially, you know, match 75 folks who normally would be taking maybe public housing spots. And you can help 75 folks who may not be able to afford where they live, or who are not able to afford that apartment, or so these are, you know, like 150 folks who normally would be on waiting lists for things. So we are going to continue to pitch that to our affordable housing strategy here, our region municipality of Waterloo, and hopefully we get sustainable funding for that.
you know, if prices continue to go up, one of the things I've noticed in Toronto, that there are a lot of single people living in big houses. And eventually the costs, even if you paid your mortgage, you'd have no mortgage. You got taxes, you got costs that you have to shoulder. And eventually this option may become far more popular than today.
Yeah, I just think, you know, people are able to sell their houses for so much. People are
Yes.
selling their houses right
Then they
now.
have to
but-
live somewhere.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I agree. Like, I think it's just helping people envision themselves in this situation. Could I do this? And we, as part of our process, if the family, like if their sort of adult children also maybe have concerns about this, we include them in the process. So we're never saying, oh, no, you can't be a part of this process. No, it's like, who is who has a stake in this? If,
Yeah.
and then we want them involved in our process.
Yeah, sounds good.
Fred. Fred?
Yeah, maybe as an example, a senior needing somebody to come in like we're talking about, and a student, we have Brock University here and we have 5,000 students in our city at this particular moment. Is how do you communicate out there? I mean, it's easy to find the seekers, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But to find the providers, how are you communicating to find the providers?
Yeah, so we've been trying to do a couple of things. So we have been using social media, mostly because we can do that for free. We have been speaking at different older adult gathering areas where folks like different clubs and Canadian Federation of University Women, I think we just talked at. So we're trying to look at where would folks who maybe would find themselves in this situation, sort of where might they congregate? And then how might they tell people that they know, kind of thing. And I just to put in another funding proposal to maybe do a bit of advertisement in the newspaper and some of our magazines that are geared towards older adults in our community. So those have a bit of cost associated with them. So, but we're, yeah, go ahead, Leslie.
What about, we've used this before, or rather I've used the argument before, doctor's offices and pharmacists, because the people that are going to have trouble paying for things in the future are the older generation. I mean, you can come to the horticulture club, you can go to the seniors club, and you're going to find those people. But often, if you're looking for places to advertise, I would suggest doctor's offices and pharmacists. And
yeah, the other place too, I'll also say is we have folks who go into homes and sort of provide support and things like that. So we have been also letting those organizations know that, hey, if you're having conversations, you can let people know that they can contact us. And then we can have a conversation to see if this is something that they're interested in that might be right for them or not.
Okay, who else? Marilyn and Rick. Do you want to say anything? Or did Marilyn already speak? Rick? Anything?
Julie, I've got one question. I did approach a lady on this subject. She's 80 years old. I thought it might be helpful. I told her you get somebody to the point where you never have to stand on a ladder again to change a light bulb. You get this younger person to do it. And to Leslie's point, you'd have somebody paying towards the maintenance on the house or the taxes, but they said no, they didn't want a stranger in the house. So how do you get over that hump to show them the benefits of this type of program without them fearing a stranger in the house type thing?
Yeah, I don't think you do, other than this is our strategy, Rick. What we do is when people, are at least open to talking to us, we really talk to them about, oh, how are things going for you? So we don't immediately dive into home share. We really talk about building rapport with them, looking at what their needs are. So we eventually would get to the points and hopefully we'd be like, oh, how things are going for you? And they might talk about great things that are going for them, new grandchildren or whatever that might be. And they also may talk about some of the challenges that they're having, cooking or cleaning or mowing the yard, or maybe they're having some trouble with finances right now. And that's our opening to say, hey, we can tell you a little bit about home share, and we can tell you what we've heard, how it's helpful to folks. And this is so we can talk about the benefits. So we first ask for people's needs. And then if their needs sort of align, we talk about how home share could potentially address those. And then we're often like, hey, and we would never make you do anything. And the first thing we do is that you can meet somebody and see if this person was the right person for you. And if they're not, that's okay. So the idea is hopefully that they meet this person, they find out that they're actually a pretty amazing person. I think that's how sometimes we create friendships and things like that. Like we go to places we may not want to go to, we start talking to someone we may not want to talk to. And then all of a sudden our eyes are open to how they're a very interesting human being and actually a good human. And so that's the only way that we have been trying to sort of talk about what we do and hook people into that. Otherwise, I don't think there's much more you can do.
Okay, is there anybody else? Just speak up if there is, please.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go for it, Joanne.
I'm sorry if I missed this in the presentation. I had to go on the phone there for a bit.
No worries.
What happens if they've been partnered and the person who does not own the home, let's say, what if it's really not working out? What happens to that person? What are your procedures to help this person either find a new home or find somewhere temporary to stay or
Yeah.
something like
So
that?
we don't find them housing first. So we make sure people know that right away because we are not a housing provider. But we do have people in our community who do. So we would make sure that we have built relationships with different folks who help people find housing here. And so we make sure we bring them to the experts to find that. So in the agreement, that sort of living arrangement that we help them mediate, they talk about an exit plan in that. So they have a strategy. So we'll say, we hope this lasts for a long, long time, but it may not. So let's talk about that. Let's imagine that this is not going well and that this person is going to have to move out of that house. Let's talk about how that's going to happen. And we also, Joanne, as I said, I'm not sure if you heard this all, but we build in a process where we have a volunteer match to each home share match. And that person is their coach, I guess is how you might want to call that person. And that coach is consistently connecting with them, just anticipating concerns, saying, hey, how are things going? Let me know. And then they would individually talk to them, right? And then maybe also talk to them together at some points. So we're making sure that we're trying to anticipate problems. And so that maybe we even have a little bit of advance notice that this thing is going to fall apart. So we can get them on lists that we have, or we can get them connected to Lutherwood, who is here, one of our housing folks who help people look for housing. Or maybe we have, our problems getting home providers, right? Maybe we have another home provider that this person would work with, right? So there could be other ways that we could also assist with that, but we will not help them find housing.
There could be a problem. It's falling apart, but if the excuse me, non-owner has to move out in a week or something, and they have no place to go.
Yeah,
Put them on the street.
That could be a problem.
Yeah. That would be my biggest fear. Not so much, you learn to get along, but if it really is that bad, there comes a time where they got to go. Whoever, obviously the homeowner does not have to go anyplace. So the other person does. And you've got a guilt trip on the homeowner. You've got no place. You're going to have somebody out on the sidewalk with their things in a plastic bag. That's my biggest fear. How does it end?
Yeah, for sure, Marilyn. I don't have a, there's no, I think one solution to that, right?
No.
So absolutely, to me, the two areas of concern is that's one. And the second one is that the relationship is not good, but people are still having to live with each other, right? So that you're putting people in unsafe situations. So that's why we've tried to put as much around that home share as we can.
Okay, are there any other questions for Julie? If not, Julie, I thank you so much for joining us and sharing all your wisdom. You've been most helpful. Maybe that PowerPoint, you could forward it to Joanne Goulet.
Sure.
And maybe we can include it with the minutes.
That sounds great.
Make it available. I thank you a million.
It's been a pleasure getting to quickly know each one of you. So good luck.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so just we spent quite a bit of time on this. I don't know if you want to talk about next steps now, or if you want to talk about next steps next time, next meeting more fully. I look for your direction. Does anybody have any ideas about?
Can we
next
leave it, can we leave it to the, can we leave it to the next one while everybody sort of absorbs the conversation from today?
It's fine with me.
Yeah.
Do you want to think about next steps and where we go?
Yeah.
Go on to the Burlington, City of Burlington or Halton. They have and that might be another next step to maybe have Heather Thompson, who's involved. I don't know if she's now involved, but Burlington, Halton have a mature one too. And she wasn't able to join us today. I don't know if we need something like that, another conversation also. But think about okay, we'll do next steps next meeting. So is that okay with everybody? We're not gonna take a vote. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so think about what you want for next steps. Okay, what do I got? 5, 6, okay. So 6 is committee business, update on committee vacancies. Do we have anything? No, nothing at this time, right?
No, we've had a few applicants, so my report is going to go to council on March 22nd. So if they get appointed, then they'll be able to start at the April 14th meeting.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so so we do have 2 people.
There's a few.
You?
I'm not saying the number.
Okay, can you make sure we get a good 2 out of the few?
Well,
Okay.
that's council's decision.
Okay. Older adult Lincoln poster. I don't know. Did we send you the link for that poster? I don't know. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you just in an email. Okay. Housing update. City of Thorold planning. We don't have anybody from. Do we have anybody?
No, so we were supposed to have Denise, but then she was on vacation this week, and then the director of planning was going to attend, and something else came up for him as well. So unfortunately, no, I do not have anyone from the planning department.
Okay, so we'll move this one forward to the next meeting. Okay. Okay. If everybody can turn to the budget document, and maybe again, this is another one that maybe will, but I want you to start thinking about it because I want some people, because we'll have new members, so some new members will want to take the lead on this. I need a commitment by the next meeting that some of these projects, that some of you will work on some of these projects. Now, Rick, I've elected you for 2 of them, Senior of the Year and what's the AFC membership support. Why did I put, no, it should be the Christmas luncheon. Because you're going to be there anyway, and they happen at the Senior Citizen Center. So you're there anyway, and there isn't a lot of work to those 2, but anyway, but I need help. If we're going to execute any of these programs, I can't do it by myself, and I need, whether you want to be a lead or whether you want to be just a helper, I'm going to need help. So if anybody wants to volunteer for anything right now, or if you want to think about it till the next meeting, when we get our additional members, I'm willing, but by the next meeting, I'd like some direction on this. So how do we move on this one?
Just we wait till the next meeting so the new members can have a go round if they're interested.
Okay.
So they don't feel left out to start with.
Okay, and everybody will think about what they might want to participate in.
Yeah. Joanne, can Jean send this list to the new members once they've been appointed?
Yep, I can do that.
Before the next meeting, and then they can look at it and see what they
Yes,
might
we
want
can
to.
include this list in the agenda package again, and then they'll be getting the agenda package for the meeting as well. So they'll be able to look it over.
Okay. Okay, so that's another one. Okay, chat bench. I want on the chat bench, the banner that was revised by Curtis based on my what I want. It says It has our logo. Then it has a community for all ages. Then it has Let's Chat. And then it has a member to the WHO Global Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities. And then it's got the city logo. Is everybody okay with those components on the banner? Can I tell?
Do you have a picture of that, Jean?
I sent it to you a while ago.
Oh, right. Okay. The reason I'm asking is, we want to have a contest for the Year of the Garden with the city. And Curtis has agreed that if we set up a committee, he will either put staff on it or us. But one of our biggest problems was the cost of the bench itself, because we're a small organization, and with COVID, we haven't been able to go out and do fundraising. And he started talking about the chat banner and said that he would need to talk to this committee to see if there was a way that we could, on one of the benches, put the horticulture name on the chat banner. And he's going to talk to you, but I haven't in my mind exactly how much space is used on the banner. I saw the picture of the bench, but it's tiny.
I would suggest that you have him develop one of your own banners, because he's got benches.
Yeah, I know. He suggested your banner, though, the chat banner.
But well, if I've got all of this stuff on our banner, it's going to be too much in my mind.
That's why I asked if there was a picture.
Yeah, it's long, and with all of this, there's going to be too much on it. I suggest that, the banners are like $100.
Yeah, and he mentioned that we could make one.
Yeah. Well, he can do it for you. Like, if you know what you want on it, which is what he did for us. We gave him the service provider's name. He went to the service provider. He had it developed. So you could do the same thing for $100 and take it out of your budget.
Okay.
That's what
I wanted to talk to you about. He said that he would have to talk to you, and I just wondered, I've seen the picture of the bench with the chat banner, but it's hard to get an idea of what you're putting on it for Age Friendly.
I think what you should do is have a bench beside your garden and have a banner related to the Horticultural Society.
That sounds good.
On that bench. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. But he has agreed to us setting up a committee to discuss the contests for the city of different gardens, all to do with the Year of the Garden. And I wondered whether anyone on this committee would be interested in sitting on that committee. We're not going to do the judging. What's going to happen is we'll find categories, we'll do the advertisement, we'll put it out there, and then we will hire one of our judges through OHA. So it's not the city making a determination or individuals. It'll be an actual judge that will look at the gardens that we choose. And if anyone's interested in sitting on that sort of committee, let me know. Sorry.
Okay, so email if they're interested on that committee, email Leslie directly.
Okay.
And so what do you think about the Welland banner? Has the logos on both sides, and it has Let's Chat in the middle, and it has a community for all ages. They haven't put that they're designated by the World Health Organization. Is it important to note that we have been designated by the World Health Organization?
I think so.
So do we like to go with those components on the banner? Do you want me to send it to you again? What the latest one that Curtis sent, or can we make a decision today?
Jean, is the one that's in the package for today, is that current?
I think that's
I can't see it very
yeah,
large.
it's very hard, but that's the Welland one. That's just
Okay.
to show you how it would look.
Well, I'm okay with it, and I think, yes, it is important to have the global affiliation. That gives it additional credibility in my mind.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a pretty important designation. I don't know, even if it's a little bit small and smaller in writing.
That's fine.
I think it's personally important.
I do too.
So can I have a motion that we tell Curtis that we're okay with those components? The two logos, a community for all ages, and the wording that we're a member of the WHO, that we are a member to the WHO Global Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities. So that would be the component. Dan,
I move. I move.
Okay, seconder. Okay, Joey, any more discussion on this? Anybody, if I can't see you, just speak up. Okay. Is there somebody? No, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, so that's what I'll tell Curtis. We've budgeted $400, so we should be able to put this on 4 benches or up to 4. Okay, so I'll work with Curtis on that. He has been very cooperative. I do want to say that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm telling you what's happening with the calendar. This, I know you're getting tired of this. We'll probably only hear it one more time. Joanne DeQuatris is back from her mat leave. She has there, as you saw when we had our luncheon, there were a few months, not too many, that didn't have all photos that we needed in them. She has agreed to help me put those photos. I said to her that I would work diligently to find the photos and not bombard her and just give her the photos that she has to put in the months so that she is not taking up a lot of time. I can't tell you how great Joanne is. So I hope to have that done in the next week or two. And then I'll tell you one thing. If you want me to get 3 quotes, I'll get you 3 quotes. Obviously, I'm going to get, and Joanne, maybe I'll look at your direction on this. I'm going to obviously get the two printers in Thorold. We have 2 in Thorold. I don't know. Do we have a 3rd one by any chance? No, I think we just have the 2. And then if I have to get a 3rd one, that's fine. But I will tell you right now, if we get a 3rd one, and it is, and I know from getting the quotes before, they were very close within a there wasn't a lot of difference. But if the lowest quote is in St. Catharines, I have no intentions of driving to St. Catharines, using up my time and my gas to meet some municipal regulation. So I don't know how, if, you know, I'm telling you that if it's not, the Thorold is not the lowest quote, and I'll tell you, they'll be very competitive. That's going to be an issue with me because I have no intention of using my time and my gas to go to St. Catharines. And plus, I would like this to be a thorough project.
Jean,
Yep.
shop local, two quotes is good.
Can I get 2 quotes though, Joanne? I'll look for direction from you and the city.
Let me look at the policy and then I will email the committee just so we're sure that we're following the city's policy.
Yeah, because this is where I'm a volunteer, and with the gas prices right now, my time and my gas is worth a few. You know what? I had a $17 memory stick and I lost the receipt, and I sent them the thing on my from my credit card, and finance wouldn't accept it. So, you know, enough's enough.
Jean, if it's helpful and we have to follow a process because we are process driven and we are attached to a subcommittee of the city of Thorold, I am willing to pick up if that's where it was, even though I am for shopping local. But if we can't avoid that, I can help you.
Yeah, but you have to not only go there to pick up. It's not a thing.
I-
You have to go there to.
Dan,
approve.
that's okay. You can contact me. I'm just trying to avoid any conflict and I will help out if absolutely necessary.
Okay, I still would prefer to see what the guidelines on and then see if there's any leeway for us to do it in Thorold. Okay, I'll leave it at that, Joanne. I will look for you to further direction from you. And we'll get it in April because these quotes are usually only good for 20 days. So there's no use getting them too early. Okay, I think I'm on street signs. Is that where I am?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a little bit of background. Again, I'm looking for your direction on this. So background, there was a letter dated, and I've got the letter, if anybody wants to see it, dated September 5th, 20, sent to Sean by Donna Del Vecchio, noting the following resolution. Now, it wasn't a resolution of council. Now what we've been doing is when we make a resolution, we actually have Fred and somebody else actually make it a resolution of council. It was just in our minutes. Okay, so it wasn't a resolution of council. It was in our minutes, and the letter stated that the minutes of June 14th, 2018, Age-Friendly Committee meeting contained a request for a policy to be drafted to increase the font size on street signs in new subdivisions and replacement signs be directed to the manager of engineering. It wasn't a formal motion, and I don't believe we ever got a report. I followed up with Sean, and I don't know why there's this time lag, and I apologize. I have no idea. In a follow-up email dated May 7th to Sean, he replied to me to follow up on the conversation we had back in the spring. Our current understanding is that our current practices is AOAA compliant, and therefore there's no change required except to ensure all signs are changed to the standard. So basically he's saying we don't have to do anything, but just because they're AOA compliant, it doesn't mean that we can't have bigger font sizes. So the minimum level, like to me, the AOA compliant is a minimum level. It's not etched in stone that that's the only font size that you can have. So I'm looking for the direction from the committee. Do we need Sean at our April meeting? And I can't explain the discrepancy in time from 2018 to 2021. So I look at your direction.
Jeannie,
Yep.
didn't we decide the type of font we wanted? What wasn't, didn't we already decide this?
I thought, yeah.
I thought we had, and
I
maybe
thought it was- I thought it was last
motion
year.
from this committee. And then the proper process, Joanne can make sure that the proper process is put through, and I get a chance to make an actual motion on whatever this committee decides. I think that's the way to go. So maybe another motion, so we get it in the minutes again. And the font size, whatever the font size should be. And I will bring that forward at the next council meeting that the minutes go through.
Okay.
I agree with that process. I think that would be the best way to do it. So what I can do is once we get our motion set up, I can separate the motion from the minutes. So that way council is voting on that motion specifically and not on the minutes. And at that time, Councillor Neal can speak to that motion.
Okay. Now what we had agreed, and I don't know, remember Sean came to our meeting and gave us that big font, that big one from was Confederation Street. Do you remember he brought a big sign?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
is that the font size that we want for all of them? Do we need to say that the Age-Friendly Committee requests a policy to be drafted to increase the size on font size in new subdivision and replacement size be directed to the manager of communication, and that the font size be larger than the AOAA compliant requirements?
Jean,
Yeah,
if I may,
go for it.
to me, if I understand this correctly, we're just talking about increasing the font size on the same size sign. So I would hope and expect that that doesn't really increase the cost. So I don't see a downside from that perspective to going with our direction for new and replacement signs. We're not saying go out and change everything that's already there at that would be a tremendous cost. So I'm not sure I see a downside to going forward with the wording that we have, unless someone is concerned about, until it's all done over 30 years, there would be some inconsistency, but at least the newer and replacement signs would be an easier to read size.
There
I thought all this was done.
I know, me too, but it's not.
Jeannie, I think Sebastian has a comment.
Okay, sorry, I apologize, Sebastian.
Oh, no problem. I was just thinking maybe to make it simpler rather than saying make it larger than the AOAA requirement. Could we say in the motion the largest size possible without increasing cost? Would that make it a little easier to read into?
Well, without increasing, there will be some, in my mind, there will be some increase in costs. Because if you're making a little bit of a bigger font size, the sign's got to be a little bit bigger too. So, you know.
If I remember when we had that meeting, when he brought it in, wasn't the difference that we were shown that a bigger font on that same size was still doable because we weren't using the whole space? I know it was a long time ago, but
Yeah,
You're right, Sebastian. It was the same sign, just a larger font. It wasn't increasing the size of the sign.
okay. How would you want the motion to read? At least this, if we get a motion on the table today, Sebastian.
okay, maybe the largest feasible, I guess, the largest font size feasible while maintaining the expected size. I don't know how they measure or decide that though. So that's what kind of makes it a little murky.
The Age Front requests a policy to be drafted to increase the font size on street signs in new subdivisions and replacement signs, be directed to the manager of engineering without significant increases to the cost of the sign. With no or significant increases to the cost of the sign.
Jeannie, I think Joey had her hand up.
Okay, Joey.
Thanks. I would just repeat what the quasi motion was of the June 14th, 2018 meeting. And I don't understand what AOAA is unless they're thinking it's AODA, but maybe they're talking about the American compliance. I have no idea. But I would just like to make the motion exactly as we did for June 2018, except that we need to add in that there would not be added cost if the sign had to be made larger, which I believe when he did come to our meeting, he said they could do the larger font and it wouldn't change the price or the size of the sign itself.
Okay, so how that the age-friendly committee request a policy to be drafted to increase the font size on street signs and it's new and replacement. We're not asking for the city to get rid of all the signs.
Right.
Be directed to the manager of communication. So why don't we just leave it at that and let him come back with the report?
Are you currently reading the June motion? Is that what you just read?
That the June 14th motion.
Okay.
So take out the minutes. You won't have the minutes. So it's the age-friendly committee. We won't do meeting. Requests a policy be drafted to increase the font size on street signs in new subdivision and replacement signs be directed to the manager of communications, to a manager of engineering. And then let him come back to us and see what he says. Unless somebody wants to add something else. Sebastian?
I'm just wondering, rather than, I guess, the first question is, do we need a report, or can, I guess, Fred bring it as a motion just for council to pass, I guess, to save the extra administrative steps?
Jeannie, I think that is exactly what we should be doing. Sebastian just hit upon the point, because I believe all the new subdivisions, I believe the developers are paying for the signs. I could be wrong, but I believe we have had some reports come through council asking council to approve the names on those signs. So I presume that the developers in the new subdivision specifically are paying for those signs. Joanne can maybe check that out, but I believe that will be the case. But regarding to the motion, I think, Sebastian, I just put it through. Let's not continue having them come back and we have another meeting regarding the signs. I think, well, this committee has already made a decision on it. Let's go ahead and get it done.
Okay, so what's the motion? That the city of Thorold support?
No, I think what Councillor Neal is saying is that he's going to bring it forward himself at the council meeting. Is that correct?
The motion that you do pass today.
Oh, okay.
I will bring forward.
Okay, so what would the motion be? That the city of Thorold increase the font size on street signs in new subdivision and replacement signs to increase visibility. That's what we're doing, to increase visibility and readability. Is that the motion?
I think that covers it.
Can you read that one more time?
That the city of Thorold increase the font size on street signs in new subdivisions and replacement signs for increased visibility and readability.
Jean, should we change the word increase to maximize, just to try to state
Okay,
what
that's
we
good.
mean, and
Okay,
using up as much real estate as we can on the sign?
that's good. To maximize visibility and readability. Is that better?
Or I was thinking I guess the first use of the word increase, but I guess either would work.
Oh, okay.
Which one? Does that
I
sound
think that
better?
the city of Thorold maximize the font size on street signs and new subdivisions and replacement signs for increased visibility and readability.
Is that okay?
I think that sounds good.
Sounds good, Jean.
Okay, so a mover, you want to move it, Sebastian?
Yep.
Okay, and then a seconder? Okay, Joey, you haven't done it. Okay. Can I have the question? All in favor? Okay, great. Okay. Interesting links. We don't have any. A fall forum. I want to tell you that that there is going to be a fall forum. We budgeted $100 for it for our membership to attend. I want you to put this on your calendar. It's going to be September 14th. It's going to be a half-day event. It's going to be at the lovely Meridian Center in Font Hill, which we've been to before. The forum is Seniors in Motion. They're going to have all kinds of mobility things added, and it'll also be an update on a couple of things, where the new Niagara, the Age-Friendly Niagara Council is going, where the alliance is going. We're developing an alliance, which we had started before this COVID stuff. And remember, we used to have meeting quarterly, roughly, with at least 2 members of each committee, a counselor, and a staff person, if available. We would have meetings where we'd kind of talk about what was happening in each municipality. And then we'd have a forum or two a year that would be a bigger forum. So we're trying to get that off the ground again. So I want you to put that date on your calendars, and hopefully we can get as many people in from the committee to attend as possible. It was always a nice day. It included a nice lunch. So that's for information purposes. Okay, I think I'm at round table. I'm gonna start at the top. Fred, you're the first one on, I can see.
Nothing today. I'm relaxing after my last council meeting, so
Okay, you got all the frogs.
I got all the frogs in a row.
Okay,
Croak.
I'm sorry. There are times I'm happy I didn't get elected, I have to tell you. Joey.
I actually was wanting to just thank Fred for taking his stand on our little froggy friends. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Joanne, do you want to say anything? You're on my screen. No, Sebastian,
No, nothing for me.
Leslie.
I think I asked all the questions I wanted, but on March 16th, we have a Zoom meeting, garden art for cheapskates, which might be interesting. If you need the link, it'll be on our Thorough Garden Facebook page or on our website.
Rick.
Jean, just to notify everybody that we had a problem with the elevator over at the seniors this past Tuesday when we had the Minister of Seniors Affairs and MP Vance Badaway along with Chris Biddle came up for a visit. And unfortunately, after talking to Curtis, found out that the elevator will be out of service for 2 weeks. We had 18 inches of water in the utility room next to the elevator, which brought it up close to the electrical panel.
Oh my God.
They took care of that, but now they found that in the elevator shaft itself, they have water in there as well. So they've got to get that out. And they've also found rust in there. So I think I don't know if it's TSSA or whatever the government organization is. They've shut it down until further notice. So Curtis figures it'll take 2 weeks if they have to get new parts or whatever to replace any rusted parts and make it safe once again. So just as a general information. And before we go, Leslie, could I have your email, please?
L Daniels.
Don't say it out loud. We're recording. Just
Oh, okay.
I'll send it to you, Rick.
I'll get it from Jean later. That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll connect you to.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. And
Thanks, Joanne.
okay. Who else? Joey.
I don't have anything, and I'm cutting in and out. So if I disappear, see you next month.
Okay. Who hasn't? Marilyn, Joey? No, Joey? Did you?
I don't have anything more to add. Thanks.
Okay. Have I missed anybody? I think Dan's gone. Rihanna?
She's gone.
Brandon's also gone.
Okay. Anybody else? Just speak up if I've missed you. Okay. Anybody else? The only thing I want to mention, I think, Rick, maybe you can, maybe your memory's better than mine. The first week I think it's the first week in May, Saturday. I think it's May 7th. The Senior Citizen Center is going to have a fundraising bazaar, and they're looking for household items. So if you start doing your spring cleaning and you find things that might be suitable for sale, bring them to the Senior Citizen Center. They are taking those donations, and whatever's left usually goes to a charity. It's a win-win because the seniors make money on it, and whatever's left usually goes to Goodwill or some charity, and then they take the rest of it and make money out of it, and you get your house cleaned out. So if you have any, and tell others, they're looking for donations. You can bring them anytime in now. Rick, if you want to say anything else to that?
Yep, that's correct, Jean, other than the date. It's May 14th.
Okay, thank you thank you very much. Anything else? Everybody have a good day. Thank you so much. Our next meeting is the 14th. We'll have 2 new members. and think about what you would like to take a leadership role in helping us execute. Thank you.
We just needed a motion to adjourn, please.
Oh, sorry. Motion to adjourn.
Rick,
Rick is going to adjourn, motion, and a seconder.
Yep.
Joey, we call the question, all in favor? Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
have a
Bye,
good day,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.